Ladies and gentlemen, let's do a Tuesday night murder church. We're going to jump back into the Manson saga here tonight. We're going over the LaBianca murders, and we're going to watch some interviews, an interview with Charles Manson, and some clips about the LaBianca murders. But I've got a couple of different things and some old news clippings from this site, celodrive.com. Got a lot of cool things. Hit the like. Let's hang out for a bit. And after that, of course, book club.
Let's rock.
Boom. What's up, Shelly? Thanks for coming in here. Appreciate it. We have made it. Is this working? Boom. There it is. Made it to a Tuesday anyways. To a normal murder church night after a pretty awesome Monday night murder church. But I don't think I had the bells last night. Let me go ahead and start this off with a proper salute with the bells in the ears. Get it rolling. And we're back into the Manson field here tonight. Is what we're going to be doing. Going over the LaBianca murders. The lesser talked about side of the two-night spree that happened in 1969. This was on August the 10th. And a husband and wife was murdered one night, 24 hours later, after the Tate residence murders were 5 people were murdered. And Charles Manson joined in on this one, if you will. He was unhappy about how the first one had went. He thought it was a little too messy, and he tagged along for this excursion by the family and Manson. Tex Watson was there. We're about to go through this right here, though. I'm going to start out on the CeeLo Drive site. Again, this site is insane. It's so much loaded with so much information. It's incredible. I wish, Holly Berry. I wish. If I did, man, we would be living it up. That's what we would be doing. But yeah, let's jump right on in here. Again, right after this is going to be, of course, this right here. The book club's coming at you immediately after. But yeah, let's start up. Let's jump in. See if we can attract some more folks as we go through here tonight. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, especially the Lori Vallow stuff going on. But hold on. Here we go. I want to get this whole site. This whole site where we can take a good gander at her, huh? A little gander at this girl right here. A little gander at her. Phil, what's up, dude? All right, the LaBianca murders, 3301 Waverly Drive, the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. The house was perched between the intersection of Waverly Drive and St. George Street and the Earl C. Anthony Estate. Close up of the house there. Leno and his wife, Rosemary LaBianca. You can see LAPD outside the residence on the late Sunday night, August 10th, after the murders were discovered. Another shot with a lot of folks wondering what the hell's going on. Neighbors and onlookers gather around. Actually, I had something else I was going to read here as well. Hold on, let me do that as well. Boom, first. A little bit more information. Leno LaBianca, 44-year-old supermarket executive, and his 38-year-old wife, Rosemary, a dress shop co-owner, were killed in their home, again, 3301 Waverly Drive in Los Feliz neighborhood. Charles Manson, dissatisfied with the chaotic execution of the previous night's Tate murders, accompanied his followers to select the next victims. He chose the LaBianca house reportedly because it was next to a home where he and his followers had partied the year before, though the people had no direct connection to him. Manson entered the home first, tied up Leno and Rosemary, and then left, instructing his followers, Charles Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, to carry out the killings. Inside, Watson stabbed Leno multiple times with a bayonet, while Krenwinkel and Van Houten attacked Rosemary, who fought back but ultimately was stabbed to death with a knife and a fork. The word war was carved into Leno's stomach, and phrases like death to pigs and Helter Skelter misspelled were written in blood on the walls in the refrigerator, echoing the Tate crime scene from earlier. The murders were part of Manson's delusional Helter Skelter plan, where he aimed to incite a race war by staging gruesome killings and framing others. The LaBiancas were random victims, whereas the night before, random victims, yes, but there's a little bit of a history with the house and Manson, with the former owner, Terry Melcher. Again, shot here of the house. LaBiancas had owned this since the 40s. I think the family, they bought it. I think I read earlier that he bought it from his mother, who had owned it since 1940, and they'd bought it just in 1968. Viewed from the Harold True house from the LaBianca's house, Harold told Deputy District Attorney Aaron Stofitz that Charles Manson had been in this house 3 times in 1968, once spending the night with about 15 members of his group. Charles Manson and the LaBiancas thought they were just being robbed, because that's what Manson went in telling them. It would not be hurt. The couple's hands were tied together using this leather thong. Get a drink here real quick. Again, thanks everyone for coming in. I appreciate it. If you're walking in randomly, walk through the door, hit the old like ski. Rosemary LaBianca's gold wristwatch here can be seen. One of the few items taken from the LaBianca's home on the night of the murders. Rosemary LaBianca's wallet that Charles Manson gave to Linda Kasabian after he came out of 33 Waverly Drive can be seen here. Then inside the wallet was her driver's license, a picture. Close up of the driver's license here. And this right here is interesting. Rosemary LaBianca's 1965 driver's license from when the LaBiancas lived at Walt Disney's former house on Walking Way. Holy shit, what a crazy house to live in. A photo that was in Rosemary's LaBianca's wallet. Looks like it's some kind of school thing, possibly, potentially. A pile of business cards. Rosemary LaBianca's business card for the Los Angeles Athletic Club in 1969 here. And look at this here. We got the credit cards. Knowing Rosemary LaBianca's wallet was missing, LAPD waited for someone to use one of her cards. Rosemary LaBianca's real estate license or credit cards. After leaving the LaBianca's house, Manson stopped at this gas station in Sal Mar and had Linda Kasabian leave Rosemary LaBianca's wallet in the women's restroom. They put it inside of this toilet here. The front door of the LaBianca's house here. This kitchen knife, looks like a steak knife, essentially. The kitchen knife that Deputy Medical Examiner David Katsuyama discovered stuck in the throat of Leno LaBianca when he removed the pillowcase from his head before conducting the autopsy. The ashtray near the body of Leno LaBianca, the lamp cord was tied around Leno's neck. In the leather thongs here. This is what was bound the hands of Leno. The body of Leno LaBianca was found in the living room to the right of the front door. A carving fork was found sticking out of his stomach where the word war had been carved. The living room right here. Get another shot of the living room. It's interesting just to kind of see the 60s decor, right? Like, this fork here, People's Exhibit number 207, the LaBianca's carving fork that was found sticking out of Leno's stomach. Pretty fucking barbaric. The LaBianca's bed behind it, LAPD found the body of Rosemary LaBianca. See a dollar bill here. Signs of a struggle in the LaBianca's master bedroom where Rosemary was found. See mail skewed about. Side door Charles Manson used to enter the LaBianca's residence after coming in from the Trues property. See, this is a cord, I think, from a lamp that was used to bound. It was tied around the neck of Rosemary. An officer stands guard. As detectives are looking at the scene here. Here's a detective pointing out some blood on the threshold. Right here you can see death kind of back here. I think there's a better shot, but where it said death to pigs on the living room wall. Yep, right here. Rise was above the door, written in blood. The lamp cord that was tied around the neck of Leno. The dining room. The refrigerator was bloody with the words Helter Skelter, where they were misspelt Helter. The coin collection that was undisturbed, and I guess they probably didn't go hunting around. of Leno LaBianca's coin collection. Pretty extensive collection, it looks like. Photograph of blood found on the floor in one of the bathrooms. I'd say maybe one of the family members probably went in there. A photograph of a bookshelf of one of the rooms. Skull here, ominously lurking. Gun collection of Leno, I thought was interesting. So, just a little rundown there. But we're about to get into some, right after these murders happened, as you can imagine, everyone was on high alert. No one knew what the hell was going on. You just had 2 nights in a row where a brutal massacre happened, and it's really in the news because in one of those nights, a movie star was killed with some of her famous friends. And we're going to be looking at some newspaper clippings. Again, as you go through this website is extensive and amazing. It's crazy. Anybody that's come through here, I appreciate it. Brooklyn coming through. Let me look through here real quick.
Brooklyn!
Guy coming through. Phil in the house. Hell yeah. Akash in the house. Thank y'all so much. Wildside. Happy Tuesday night. Murder Church and Ed. Gamby's coming through. Hell yeah, guys. Appreciate it. Nice. Beats and tapes in the house. Shit. We're not messing around in here tonight. Thank y'all very much. I think we're really close to a wheel. Last night was incredible. Everybody was coming through. Miss Dina was crazy last night. She gave out so many memberships for potential possible people that could be introduced maybe to the book club. Let me just see where we are at real quick, because I think we're really close, just to let everyone know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we're 2 away, so I'll be keeping an eye on that as well. But yeah, welcome in here, everybody. And again, we're going to keep going down this road. And again, this is going to be a pretty extensive set of streams here at Publicly Buzzed. Jersey Jen, I see you out there also. Welcome in here. Right here, this was from Monday, August the 11th, 1969. 2 ritual slayings follow killings of 5. You can see right here, Roman Polanski, husband of slain actress Sharon Tate, is escorted to the plane in London. He avoided newsmen on his arrival here. This is 2 days after these started. But really, if you go back to last week's, I think it was the week before, when I went into the Hinman stuff, that's really what kicked all of this off. So, but 2 days in a row here is what really got everyone really shooken up in Los Angeles and around the world, quite frankly. A Silver Lake couple were found slain Sunday night under bizarre circumstances that police said may connect to the crime with the murder of actress Sharon Tate and 4 others in Benedict Canyon. Detectives said the man's head was covered with a white hood, his chest pierced by a meat carving fork, which had evidently been used to cut the word war and XXX into the flesh. His body was found on the living room floor. The woman's body, clad in pajamas, was found in the bedroom of the isolated single-story house of 3306 Waverly Drive. Her back ripped to pieces by what police said it may have been a knife or a whip. They were not immediately identified. The words "death to pigs" had been smeared on the door of the refrigerator, apparently by the heel of the slayer's hand. Dipped in the victim's blood. The couple's teenage children, returning home shortly after the crime was discovered at 10:30 p.m., immediately became hysterical and could give police no clear accounts of events earlier that night. So it would have been interesting if the children would have been home when that happened. The hood, the bloody inscription written in the same manner as the word pig on the front door of Miss Tate's rented home at the Benedict Canyon. And the nature of the wounds all indicated a connection in the earlier crime. Police said Miss Tate and her 4 companions were slain late Friday night or Saturday morning. A second suspect in that case is still believed at large. The second suspect is a man whose name was mentioned by William E. Garrettson, a 19-year-old caretaker at the estate who was taken into custody shortly after the murders were discovered. Remember, there was a caretaker at the Tate residence in another house offset from the house, and one of the teenagers, Stephen Parent, who was going to visit him, was killed as he was leaving that night. But the caretaker was, cleared, of course, and was asleep when this actually happened. Garrettson underwent an hour-long lie detector test at Central Police Headquarters Sunday afternoon. He was then returned to his cell, and Sergeant Jesse Buckles explained that homicide detectives were not entirely satisfied with his answers to their questions. They were trying to get him, like, this kid did it. Earlier officers had indicated, remember, this is very early. This is 2 nights after that had happened. Officers had indicated Garrettson might be released after testing on the polygraph. Buckles said Garrettson may still be released, but not until further investigation is completed, probably sometime today. I think it took him about a week to let this guy go, if I'm not mistaken. Lieutenant Detective Robert Helder told a news conference that efforts to trace the killer or killers were centered on acquaintances of the short, slim caretaker. But Garrettson's attorney, Barry Tarlow, asserted that the killer was more likely someone connected to the murder victims themselves. There was a party at the house the night of the killings. From the investigation made by my office, our best guess is that whoever did it was involved in a personal way with these people who were killed. What the police had originally considered their best clue in the case evaporated late Sunday when Miss Tate's red Ferrari was found in a Hollywood service garage where it had been taken for repairs last week. The car had been reported missing and was the subject of an all-points bulletin. Coroner Thomas Noguchi told newsmen the results of autopsies which determined these causes of death for the 5 victims. Miss Tate, 26, who was found in the living room linked to a rope to the body of her hairstylist Jay Sebring, was killed by multiple stab wounds to the chest and back. Sebring, 35, died from stab wounds to the body. The rope linking his neck of that to Miss Tate did not contribute to the cause of his death. Abigail Folger, 26, heiress of the Folger coffee family, died from stab wounds to the chest. For Kowski, 37, a Polish screen producer and writer, died of stab wounds of the body and extremities and a gunshot wound in the back. Stephen Perrin, 18, who was the kid that was trying to live, was killed with multiple gunshot wounds to the chest. Elder and Noguchi declined to release many details of the crime known to authorities. Things Helder said would be known only to the killer or killers. They wouldn't say how many times the victims were stabbed or which type of weapon they were shot or elaborate on physical details of the scene or the murders. The 5 were killed at the $200,000 estate rented by Miss Tate and her husband, film director Roman Polanski, at the end of Silo Drive in the hills of Benedict Canyon. The detective and the coroner did, however, provide some previously unreleased details of the crime. Miss Tate was 8 months pregnant with a baby boy. The telephone lines into the home were cut between 10 p.m. when the phone into the estate was last used and 5 a.m. When Garrettson attempted to place a call out and found the lines dead. The murderers presumably occurred within that period, Helder said. The word pig was written in blood with letters all about a foot tall on the front door. Police said the letters were made with the side of a fist that had been smeared with the victim's blood. There's no solid information that will limit us to a single suspect. It could have been one man, or it could have been 2, or it could have been 3. We have to assume it was an attempt to escape when we find the bodies the way we did. Miss Tate and Sebring were killed in the house, but the other 3 victims were found dead in what would have been positions of flight. Furkowski shot in the back on the lawn. Folger falling 100 feet farther away from on the grass. Parent shot at the seat of the steering wheel of his car when he was again trying to get the hell out of there. Terrible timing. Garrettson's attorney said the parent was alive at 11:45 p.m. Friday, but wouldn't comment further on that fact. He said Garrettson was asleep in the guest house at the rear of the property and slept through the murders. Helder said that one of the victims of the murder was sexually molested. There was no evidence of alcoholic beverages having been consumed, and chemical tests to determine if drugs had been used by any of the victims are still underway. The fact that the telephone wires were cut indicated that the murders were apparently premeditated, Helder said. He said the victims were caught unaware by the killer. It was a weird homicide, he said, but I don't think we have a maniac running around. I can't agree with that, said Attorney Tarlow later. I think there is a maniac running around, and if I were living in the area, I'd be concerned. Friends said Furkowski and friend Miss Folger had also been staying at the Tate home situated at the end of the winding hilly street. Garrettson can be held for 48 hours starting Monday morning before charges have to be filed. So I guess it wasn't a week. Or he has to be released. The 48-hour limit does not apply over a weekend. Lieutenant Helder said attempts to talk to Polanski would be arranged through the director's attorney. I doubt if he'll be able to talk to us right away. The policeman's prediction was confirmed when Polanski arrived Sunday afternoon at International Airport, and it was slipping away to an unknown location. Now, what we're going to get into right now is the drugs that were found in this area. Now, one of the main narratives of the Manson saga, the family saga, outside of the mainstream narrative by Bugliosi, the prosecutor that really put them away and wrote the book Helter Skelter and made a bunch of money from this, quite frankly. Now we have Chaos that goes down the MK Ultra route with Manson, Tom O'Neill, but then you also have Nicholas Schreck, the guy that did the interview that I showed with Jack from Never a Truer Word. That guy has also written books, extensive research that he's done on Charles Manson, and he really thinks that what went down that night was a drug deal gone wrong. And we do know that a lot of these Hollywood types, people in the music industry around this time period, did deal with a lot of shady characters, and there was a lot of drugs running through Los Angeles at this time and California. Let's get in here. Slaying victim's car. Offender's car. Officer guards black Porsche owned by Jay Sebring, in which narcotics were reportedly found. Car is still parked at the Benedict Canyon estate where Sebring and 4 other persons were slain. Look at these cars. Carla, welcome in here. This is August 13th. So this is a few more days removed from the overall murder spree. Narcotics were found in an expensive sports car parked outside the Benedict Canyon estate where actress Sharon Tate and 4 companions were slain. It was learned Tuesday. Police declined to confirm or deny the report. The detective heading a 19-man team working on the multiple murders would say only narcotics aspects are under investigation. The drugs were found in the 1966 black Porsche owned by wealthy Hollywood hairstylist Jay Sebring. Among the drugs were a small quantity of marijuana, pills resembling methadone or speed, and possibly LSD. Earlier, Lieutenant Robert Helter, head of the Tate case team, had been asked if narcotics had been found at the scene. No, he said not in the house. Police said the backgrounds of the victims of the murder were being investigated to see if narcotics records were involved. They did not disclose the results of the investigation. But friends of one of the victims, Polish filmmaker Forkowski, 37, said that he was known to have been a user of narcotics. Tests to determine if the victims had been using narcotics are underway at the Los Angeles coroner's office. Results are not expected to be back for several more days. So this is still early in the investigation here. Lieutenant Helter said there was no evidence of a drinking party in progress at the estate the night of the killings, but it was known that there had been a party at the home Friday night. The deaths believed to have occurred early Saturday. Forkowski and at least some of the others who died in the outburst of stabbing and shootings were members of the pot-oriented Hollywood group, among whom used the marijuana as commonplace. Killed with Miss Tate, Sebring, and Forkowski was Abigail Folger, a 26-year-old Coffey family Harris, and Stephen Parent, 18, a friend of the estate caretaker, William Garrettson, 19, who was arrested after the killings but released Monday. So he'd been released by this time. So it was after the weekend they had to let him go. Garrettson's mother, Mrs. Mary Garrettson, said in Lancaster, Ohio, she expects her son to return home as soon as he is rested. So he's from Ohio. What a weird situation for him to be in. She said she talked to him by phone since his release, and he was tired and incoherent. He will stay here, she said. Everyone loves him here and knows he couldn't have done anything wrong. So his name, probably in the early days of this, was heavily involved in this before the Manson stuff even took off. That the killer or killers might have been freaked out on drugs and murdered in a paranoid frenzy. That's kind of going down the Shrek narrative. That they might have been linked to the narcotics trade and involved in either the sale or the theft of drugs. Lieutenant Helter told newsmen earlier that he felt that the killings were premeditated because the telephone lines leading into the actress' home at the end of CeeLo Drive had been cut. The lines are 18 feet above the ground. They were slashed not far from where Parent has been shot to death as he sat in his car. Lieutenant Helter's supposition that the crimes were premeditated would presumably make a freak-out type of killing unlikely, but police were not concentrating on any one theory. 2 lieutenants and 17 detectives are following up every possibility. Chemical tests were believed being made of the drugs found in the black Porsche. It was found parked next to Mrs. Folger's new Pontiac Firebird on the blacktop entryway to CeeLo Drive. The Parents' youth car was 100 feet away, angled toward the entry gate, with CeeLo ends and the sprawling estate begins. Former film director Roman Polanski, husband of Miss Tate, rented the home from the owner. Polanski was in London at the time of the murders. He flew home Sunday. He is now in seclusion in an undisclosed location. And then funeral arrangements are made as well here. We're going to move here a little bit further. Federal agent discounts drugs as motive in 5 Coast slang. So 2 days later, they're saying, we don't think this was part of the motive. A narcotics investigator for the government said today that drugs that were found at the home where the actress of Sharon Tate and 4 other persons were found slain last week were not considered to be a motive in the slayings. It looked like there might have been only enough for a party, said the investigator for the Bureau of Narcotics. There certainly was not enough to be considered commercial in scope. The agent said that the drugs were found at the home included, and there's also, I think this goes down more the Shrek Avenue, that the morning that police, the bodies were discovered by, I think a housekeeper came in and found them ultimately. And there's all kinds of crazy rumors out there of even like Steve McQueen coming in and getting narcotics out of there, and them clearing out most of the stuff out of the house because, I think Nicholas Shrek kind of goes down more of the avenue that there would have been a lot of dope and narcotics within that household and probably being sold there as well, allegedly. Meanwhile, the caretaker at the Beverly Hills Manson, William E. Garrettson, who had been held for 3 days for questioning in the killings, held a news conference today. He said his attorney had told him not to answer questions about drugs or sex. That's pretty telling right there, I think. Barry Tarlow, the lawyer, said the police had asked Mr. Garrison not to discuss these topics. It's also, I think I've discussed this on here also, it was known that, I say that as if I know that, but, I think it's almost just like a legend that there was, homemade porno being made in this residence as well by Roman Polanski. Allegedly. The 5 persons who were slain, including parent who had visited. Barlow, the lawyer, said that he asked Mr. Garrison not to discuss these topics in the news conference. The attorney added that he personally left the drugs and sex were key points of the investigation. Interesting. The 5 persons who were slain included Stephen Parent, who had visited Mr. Garrison on Friday night where the killing occurred. Mr. Garrison, who was 19, had been hired by the owner of the estate to look after the 3 dogs for the summer. The owner was touring Europe and had rented the rambling hillside home to Mrs. Tate and her husband, Roman Polanski, the film director, who was in London again. Mr. Garrison, who was living in a small yellow cottage several hundred feet from the main house, said that he left the cottage about 9 p.m. Friday night and hitchhiked to the Sunset Strip in Hollywood to buy groceries. He said he returned home about 10 p.m. and that Mr. Parent came by to see him about 15 minutes before midnight to show him a clock radio. If he would have just stayed later or left sooner, I always think about that one. Mr. Garrison said his friend left about 12:15 after making a phone call. Like, he walked right into the perfect time of them walking up. Like, it's horrible. The caretaker said he stayed awake until dawn, writing letters and listening to music on his record player, probably tripping, I would imagine, honestly, staying up all night. Maybe not. But LSD is definitely a heavy factor in all of these people's lives around this time. The music, everyone, the majority of people, especially if you're partying and you're in this vicinity of folks like Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. The caretaker said he stayed awake until dawn again writing. Before going to bed, he said he tried to call a time of day service, but found that the telephone did not work. At one point during the pre-dawn hours, Mr. Garrison said that one of the dogs he has been caring for, named Christopher, barked, but that he attached no significance to it. The other 2 dogs were French poodles. The dogs are now being cared for by an animal rescue service. Hey, welcome in, Simi. Mr. Garrison said that he was awakened by police who burst into his cottage about 9 a.m., pointing pistols and rifles at him. They're like, "Yo, you did this, motherfucker." "I didn't know what was coming off," said the slender brown-haired young man. He said that he asked the police, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" They took him to the lawn in front of the main house and showed him the stabbed bodies. Damn. He said that he did not know Miss Folger, who was a member of the Coffey family, and that he thought Frykowski who was Polish, was Mr. Polanski's brother. The police showed him the body of Mr. Parent, who had been shot in the head, but did not take him to the house to view the bodies of Miss Tate or J. Sebring. Mr. Garrison was released from jail on Monday after taking a lie detector test and being questioned for 2 days. Just imagine those days. My God, torture. Probably thinking they're going to pin this on you. His lawyer said the young man planned to return to his home in Ohio. He's like, "I got to get the fuck out of California. This acid has ruined my life." The Los Angeles Police Department, which has 19 detectives assigned to the investigation, has not given out any theory about the killings. The county coroner, Noguchi, said the victims had been stabbed so brutally. This crime was so weird and bizarre that we were showing photographs of the bodies to a psychologist and a psychiatrist who are consultants to our staff in an effort to determine from them behavior evaluation of the killer. So these are incredibly interesting newspaper articles from that time period, man. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Murr Rayner. Okay, thank you very much, Ginger. Appreciate that. Madeline coming in here also. Don't forget, immediately after this tonight, guys, we have the book club, the Buzz Nation book club. We're just read chapter 9, The Stranger Beside Me, Ted Bundy book and rule. Immediately following this right here, we go right into the book club, folks. All right, we're going to move on here just a little bit. One of massacred may have owed money. Okay, going back a little bit into the possibility of this being somehow connected to a drug deal gone wrong, something along those lines. Federal agents confirmed this is also the 15th, same day as the last article. Federal agents confirmed yesterday they were checking reports. Hold on, just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. No. Checking reports that one of the 5 persons massacred at the Benedict Canyon estate of actress Sharon Tate was heavily in debt to gamblers. The Internal Revenue Service said it was making routine inquiries into the possible gambling activities of the victims, which in addition to Miss Tate included hairstylist Jay Sebring, Folger, Frukowski parent. Federal narcotics agents also checked reports that narcotics were found in Tate's home. They said a report that hashish was found in the house was unfounded, but would not comment on reports that drugs were found elsewhere in the estate, including Sebring's car. The bodies were found Saturday by a maid. This crime was so bizarre, weird and bizarre, that they were showing photographs. I just read that line. There's put that in there. Another quote by Noguchi. Authorities denied a report that the bodies had been mutilated. Homicide detectives who had been given out virtually no information of the case said that there was no new developments. So there's really even nothing in here really, except just a tease of who may have owed money. And then we're going to go right into police raid ranch, arrest 26 suspects in an auto theft ring. This is August 17, 1969. The family were not charged and arrested for these murders until November. They arrest them in August for an auto theft ring. Let's read here. 26 persons living in an abandoned Western movie set on an isolated Chatsworth ranch were arrested in a daybreak raid by sheriff's deputies Saturday, a suspect of a major auto theft ring. Officers said they confiscated 7 rifles, a .43 caliber automatic pistol, and a 9mm machine gun. The group, 11 men and 15 women, including several members of a motorcycle gang called Satan's Slaves, was stealing Volkswagens, dismantling them, and converting them into dune buggies, according to deputies. Now, it was around this time, after the murders, that Manson and the family started moving from the ranch here to another part into Death Valley to get deeper into the desert and hopefully away from the possibility of being connected or found even. They were hiding in caves. 7 juveniles, including 4 infants, were taken into custody and turned over to the juvenile authorities. More than 100 deputies swarmed over the 200-acre ranch shortly after 6 a.m., while most of the suspects were still asleep. Automobile parts were strewn over the area, they said. The suspects and their children, said deputies, had been living like animals. The 4 infants, all under 2 years old, and 4 women were found sleeping on the floor of a dirty, broken-down trailer, officers said. The ranch is owned by George Spahn, a blind 80-year-old semi-invalid. It is located in the semi hills of 12,000 Santa Souza Pass Road. Deputies said Spahn, who lives alone in a ranch, in the house on the ranch, apparently knew there were people living on the set, but was unaware of the activities. They said he couldn't get around and was afraid of them. So, essentially Spahn, George Spahn, who let them live there. Some of the girls lived in the house with him. Maybe there was some favors happening there as well, probably asked upon by someone like Charles Manson, who was the leader. I don't know. But after this, they actually get out of jail from this, right? This kind of goes into the Tom O'Neill portion with the MK Ultra stuff, because, you get these people that are being arrested, and just think about Charles Manson had just gotten out of prison in 1967 after a 10-year stint of doing time for stealing an automobile. Here he is getting arrested again in 1969 in August for the same thing with tons of family members, the cult, and they're let back out again onto the street. And essentially in Chaos, Tom O'Neill's book, he kind of gets into how, the police said this was above their pay grade, right? What the fuck's going on there? So we're about to move on to some news reports here. We're going to start right here, actually. I think this is where I want to start. Yeah, let's start here. Thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate it, guys. If you haven't hit that like ski yet, do it. Do the damn thing. Do it. Do it. Pammy coming through here. What's up, Pammy? Candy Temple's in the house. Cheney's in the house. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Appreciate her. Appreciate her. Don't forget, right after this, if you are membered up, if you are a part of the Buzz Nation, what is going to happen? We're going to be hanging and banging on a members only live, and the only way to do that is to be a member here, and it's going to be a book club party. Chapter 9 is what we're going to be going over. I've got extensive notes here coming at you very shortly. But let's jump in here for just a second. We're going to be looking at this is ABC 7, kind of looking back on the murders, and I'm pulling out especially the LaBianca murders that happened on the 10th, the day after the Tate murders here. Gamby's in here too. What's up, Gamby's?
Standing at that gate all day, the details began trickling out.
I think it's only through one speaker, two of these clips,
including
sadly.
Sharon Tate, pregnant wife of Roman Polanski. Even more shocking, how they were killed. Brutally shot or stabbed. 169 stab wounds between the 5. The killers used Tate's blood to write "pig" on the front door, a macabre message that shocked and confused the city. And it wasn't over. The next night in Silver Lake, Rosemary and Leno LaBianca, random, horribly unlucky victims, killed almost the same brutal.
The randomness of
death
crimes
pigs written in their blood
are so
on the
creepy
wall.
to me.
Helter Skelter on the refrigerator.
And then when all the words came out, or news came out about what was inside, how they were killed, there was an element of fear, yes.
Eyewitness News Inland Empire Bureau Chief Bob Banfield recalls how the city was petrified and thirsty for information as he canvassed the LaBianca neighborhood, talking to neighbors the day after
the old
murder.
pictures of the clips.
People were, back then, were willing to talk because they were wondering, give me some information. What's going on here?
There was a lot of fear in L.A. The sale.
There's Bugliosi. I mean, straight up, Tom O'Neill has proven a lot of stuff that he was talking about is absolute bullshit. He had a narrative, and he wanted to get the win massively, even if it meant cutting some corners. I mean, not that I don't think Charles Manson is even the leader of this cult and even put the wheels in motion, but there's a lot of bullshit that Bugliosi puts in here that is a little bit more hoodoo than anything, actually. And I don't know. I think, like I've said previously, I think it's a mixture of his narrative, O'Neill's narrative, and Shrek's narrative. I think it's a mixture of all of them. I don't think it's
dogs,
one of
guns,
just one narrative that we should be going off of.
And the use of security services dramatically, and particularly in the movie colony, they were just terrified.
Vincent Bugliosi was the deputy DA, the man who eventually sent the murderers to prison. But in the weeks immediately after the crimes, there were no suspects. Evidence was hard to come by.
I think it's around this time,
Today,
though.
you'll find
60s.
it locked away in a storage closet in the DA's office. 37 boxes in all, now infamous, even iconic items that came to symbolize the brutality.
Yo,
The long-barrel
Shiraz, what's
22
up?
revolver used in the Polanski house. The rope tied around Sharon
Look at that.
Tate and
The
Jay
actual
Seaver,
shit.
still stained with their blood.
The rope had been thrown over the rafter, and then each end of the rope was kind of looped around the victim's neck.
The fork used on Leno LaBianca and Rosemary
Yeah, that's
LaBianca's
crazy. We were just
wallet,
looking at the pictures of
stolen
that
by the
stuff.
killers. Her driver's license still inside.
Look at this.
California driver's license.
1969.
And the bloody clothes worn by the murderers from
Crazy.
the Polanski scene.
Clothing was actually found near the scene of the Tate murders by a film crew. I believe it was a
Yeah, news crew found the clothes that they had dumped over the side of the hill.
Was Al Wyman. It was 4 months after the murders.
What we did, we came here and actually stood right here in this spot and said, okay, if we had just killed these people, we are covered with blood, where would we go and where would we throw the clothes?
Wyman and his crew got into their news vehicle and started driving down Benedict Canyon, estimating the murderers' escape.
Let's time how long it takes me to undress and redress. And I put the stopwatch on and ran it for 6 minutes and 20 seconds. And at that time, when it hit 6:20, I said, okay, where are we? We stopped and got out and looked over, and I said, my God, those have to be the clothes.
And that's pretty wild. Like, that's pretty insane. If that's exactly
That
how it
day,
happened, holy
40
shit.
years ago, Wyman files this report.
6 minutes and 20 seconds of moderate driving up Benedict Canyon led us to this spot. And looking over the edge of this hill, we found several pairs of blue jeans and what appeared to be some very dark sweatshirts.
This is exactly the spot, and driving up Benedict Canyon, as
question.
we've done just now,
That's so.
this
It's
is
still
the
there.
only place. There was
I think
no guardrail
the
at the
Tate
time.
house
This
is still
the
around.
only place.
I know
that you
they
could pull
changed the
off.
door because somebody
This
owns
is where
that
we
door,
found
which
it.
is crazy.
It's right down there.
When the LAPD arrived on the scene, detectives were not happy. The media figured it out before they did.
We were notified by my boss, Lieutenant Robert Helder, who received a phone call from
These old clips
what I
here are
believe is
nuts.
Channel 7 News.
Yeah, my boss called up and said, "You're a fucking idiot. The news just found some evidence and you sons of bitches are fired."
They came up and found the clothing, which we introduced at the trial.
Slowly, Bugliosi gathered his evidence. It led to a man who stood only 5'2", but wielded a manipulative power that turned a group of hippie followers into some of the most ruthless, cold-blooded killers in American history. Charles Manson.
All right. Good intro into the next part here. Let me get rid of some of these. Okay, got about 5 minutes here. This one's talking again more about LaBianca.
As tragic as the murders of Sharon Tate and her friends were, they have come to overshadow the Manson family's next night of terror. It was the murder of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca that plunged Los Angeles into fear and paranoia. This is the messed up truth of the LaBianca murders. As documented by Linda Kasabian's testimony, Charles Manson called her,
For real.
Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten to the bunkhouse at the family's hideaway at the Spahn Ranch after dinner on the evening of Saturday, August 9, 1969. Noting that Manson instructed the young women to bring along a change of clothing, Kasabian, who had been the lookout for the Tate killings, became uneasy knowing that she would again be sent on a murderous mission. Manson told them, "Last night was too messy. This time I'm going to show you how to do it." With Manson at the wheel, the participants in the Cielo Drive massacre, Charles Tex Watson, Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, and Kasabian, along with Van Houten and Steve Clem Grogan, headed out in search of their next victims. After several false starts, the family at last wound up at a house in Los Feliz. Armed with a pistol, Manson
Very
exited
short,
the car
Ola.
and made his way up the home's long driveway alone.
Small
One of the
dude.
Manson family's favorite pastimes was an activity they called creepy crawling. Family members would enter a home under the cover of night and silently creep and crawl from room to room, rearranging the sleeping occupants' possessions. During Manson's trial, Deputy District Attorney Vincent Bugliosi surmised that the creepy crawls were merely dress rehearsals for murder. In the early morning hours of Sunday, August 10, 1969, Manson slipped into the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca to survey the scene. According to Charles Tex Watson's memoir, Will You Die For Me?, Manson returned to the car moments later and summoned Watson to come with him. Rousing Leno LaBianca from his sleep, Manson held a gun on the grocery store president, assuring him that he wasn't going to be harmed. Manson stated he was after money and nothing else. Watson bound LaBianca's hands behind his back while Manson went to the bedroom to retrieve Rosemary. Further assuring the frightened couple that they wouldn't be hurt, Manson left the house with Rosemary LaBianca's wallet. Moments later, Patricia Krenwinkel and Leslie Van Houten entered the LaBianca home with orders to kill. As Manson's
you could take
followers
Manson,
were left to their
Pammy.
bloody work, Charles Manson, Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, and Steve Clem Grogan left the scene. According to Bugliosi's book Helter Skelter, Manson gave Kasabian Rosemary LaBianca's wallet and instructed her to wipe off any incriminating fingerprints and remove the change. LaBianca's driver's license and, most importantly, her credit cards were to remain untouched. Manson explained that he was going to drive to a predominantly black neighborhood where Kasabian was to toss the wallet on the sidewalk. Explaining that a person of color would find the wallet and use the credit cards, Manson hoped that the press and the authorities would blame the murders on the Black Panthers. With the blame deflected from the family and placed on the black political organization, Manson believed that the country would edge nearer to Helter Skelter, an
movie Helter
apocalyptic
Skelter
race
is
war
really
from which
good.
Manson and his
I've seen it a
followers would
bunch.
emerge as victims.
Wasn't made for TV one,
Inexplicably,
but
Manson
it's
changed
good.
his mind at the last minute and instead drove to a nearby gas station, where he instructed Kasabian to leave.
We're gonna
the
watch
house
this
and went to
insane
rescue.
movie
Kasabian,
soon
now
on
fearful
Fell
after 2
Friday.
nights of murder, instead hid
gonna
LaBianca's
blow
wallet
your
inside
mind.
a toilet tank rather than leaving it where it could be easily found. A key piece of evidence, the wallet was finally discovered 4 months after the August 10 killings. According to the
wild.
Los Angeles Deputy DA Vincent Bugliosi,
It depicts the family
investigators were initially
insane.
reluctant to link the LaBianca and Tate murders. At the time, the police regarded the LaBianca killings as a copycat crime.
Yo.
Regardless of the official position of the authorities,
What's up, Canada's darkest haunted history, eh?
the general public
Welcome
could
the hell in
easily see
here.
the parallels in the crimes. Gripped by fear, Los Angeles held its breath, waiting for the next round of gruesome
that
slayings.
like button,
On the
folks.
50th anniversary of the
Yeah, no.
Tate-LaBianca murders, Linda Deutsch, the Associated Press reporter who broke the story of the Cielo Drive killings, described the mood of the city to Tara Brown of 60 Minutes Australia.
You had a city that was in lockdown. people were buying alarm systems for their houses. People carried guns.
Yo, Forrest.
Deutsch continued to say, people were sure that they were targets. And then when the LaBiancas were killed, that sort of cemented the idea that there were mad killers on the loose. Vincent Bugliosi told KABC TV in 2015, there was a lot of fear in LA. The sale of guard dogs and guns rose dramatically overnight, particularly in the movie colony. They were just terrified. On August 16, 1969, authorities raided Spahn Ranch and arrested Manson and 25 family members. Charged with auto theft, Manson was released when it was discovered that the arrest warrant had been misdated. As documented in Helter Skelter,
okay, so the arrest warrant was misdated, is why they just got out. What the fuck?
Atkins, jailed at the Sybil Brand Institute after being implicated in the earlier murder of music teacher Gary Hinman, leaked details of the Tate-LaBianca crimes to fellow inmates, who in turn alerted authorities. Charged with murder, Manson, Tex Watson, Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten were sentenced to death. In exchange for immunity, Linda Kasabian became a witness for the prosecution. Her testimony was instrumental in convicting Manson and his followers. As reported by Rolling Stone, Steve Grogan was sentenced to life imprisonment for the family's murder of ranch hand Donald Shorty Shea. Paroled in 1985, Grogan is the only one of the killers who's been released.
Yeah, I'm doing a pretty big deep dive here,
In 1972, California abolished the death
like
penalty.
the
The sentences of
fifth
murderers were commuted to life. Susan Atkins died of brain
Counting the
cancer in
ones with Jack?
2009. Charles Manson, suffering from colon cancer, died of cardiac arrest in 2017. As of this video, Watson, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten remain in prison.
All right. So I'm going to stop that there because I want to finish this off with a Manson interview. Okay. I think this is from 89. It says 20 years after. We're going to watch a little bit of this. It'll do your head in a little bit. Immediately following this, folks, we're going over to Murder Church. Excuse me. We're going over to Book Club, Buzz Nation Book Club. Only way to do that is if you are membered up here, folks. So make sure you're membered up. Do it. Get in here and join the nation. I'm telling you right now. What's up, Frog? What are you doing? We had a house in here tonight. Had everybody coming through. But yeah, if you become a member, not only do you get to be membered up and you become a Buzz Nation member, you're in the book club, and you get on a wheel for the possibility of winning some goodies. So it's a win-win all over the place, quite frankly. Win-win all over the place. But all right, folks, let's go. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Thank y'all so much for hanging out tonight.
Tell me about your life here in prison. Do you read newspapers? Do you listen to the radio? Do you watch television? Do you communicate with people on the outside? What goes on for Charles Manson in this prison?
Well, I can feel the grass growing out there on the lawn, and there's a few trees that's got some leaves on it that I can feel. And I've been in jail all my life, so I'm actually right here at home. How long have I been in jail? 34 years? 34 years, so...
Out of 47, you've been here 34.
I've been in jail. Prison, a long time, all my life. I was raised up in here. So I understand jail. So I understand myself.
I am the prison man.
I set my cell and I do my number like a convict does his number.
You like jail, don't you?
I don't dislike or like.
Let's go back to 1967. At the time you were winding up serving a term of number of years, 10 years. And written accounts indicate that you told the authorities, don't let me out. I can't cope with the outside world. Do you have a recollection of that? And
you make a desperate plea out of something, man. There's no desperate plea out of it. I say I can't handle the maniacs outside. Let me back in.
I didn't use the word desperate. That's your word, Charles.
Yeah, well, your inflection and your voice tone.
Need Jack here.
Implications there.
Dude, that was such a fun stream. Both of them.
You use the word maniacs on the outside. How are you different from the maniacs on the outside? And why do you call them maniacs? Because you know something, they think you are one.
Yeah, it would reflect. If you hold the negative up to the light, you don't see the light, you just see the negative. So I'm a reflection of your negative, there's no doubt about that, and I can handle that also. I've been handling, ain't I?
I don't know, have you?
Well, I've been up and down these damn hallways, in and out of these nut wards for the last 10 years. You think you could follow that act?
Don't want to follow that act. I don't want to get into it. But why do you want to get into that?
Well, what crowd,
why do you
what crowd you playing for? Huh? I'm playing for my life. You working for money.
What does that mean, you're playing for your life?
I'm working for my life, mister. I'm not playing for money.
What do you mean
playing
you're working
for keeps?
What do you mean you're working for your life?
I'm playing for real.
What does that mean? You're playing.
What does that
How
mean?
are you
That's
playing for
something you
your
can't
life?
buy.
Stop talking that gibberish, motherfucker. What
When
are you
say you're
talking
playing
about?
for your life, am I to
Yeah.
assume that you think that someday you're going to get out of here?
Get out of here. Get out of here. Where would I go? Let's see.
What would you do if you got out of here?
If I got out of here.
What if they said to you tomorrow morning, Charles, hey, listen, you're free.
Hey, our
Go
bad.
wherever you want to go.
Still outta here.
Do whatever you want to do. What would you do?
I'll probably go out front on the grass and sit down.
For how long?
For right now.
For right
How
now.
long? I could put a track record on it, or I could put a computer on
Come
it
on
and play it
down.
backwards.
No, come on down. Get off computers, get off tracks. If you got out of here, there are a lot of people who think you'd go start killing people again.
Again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys are misinformed. I haven't killed anyone.
What about Shay?
What about him?
Well, what about him?
He got killed.
Well, the word is you killed him. Word is
Who?
you stabbed him.
Oh,
What does it feel like to kill
Word.
somebody, Charles?
Word is that you're an old woman. Word is you have turkey in the sky. Word is, I don't know what word is. Somebody else tell you that. I didn't tell you that.
Did you kill Shay?
Hell no.
Did you cut Hinman's ear off?
Hell yes.
How'd that
I
feel?
did
Cut
do
his
that actually. Shit, we get into Hinman. Fuck, I did do that. I might have cut him. I didn't do nothing else. I didn't kill him. I didn't tell him. I'm okay. I might have told him also to kill. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit more involved than I want to let on. Okay, actually, fine. You know what? You're making some sense here, bud.
I felt bad
Truth is
about
fun,
it.
though. Isn't the truth fun now when you
Yeah,
can... Okay,
sure,
okay,
sure.
you cut his ear off. What
Is
did it
it
feel
truth
like?
fun? My goodness.
What did it feel like when you cut his ear off?
Huh?
Tell me about it. Come on.
What did it feel like?
Yeah.
Well, I had done what he said for about 20 years. I'd done everything he told me to do. And I got to thinking, now, why don't this guy do something I tell him to do? And he said, no. I said, well, how comes I'm always doing what you tell me to do, but then you never do what I say do? And he said, well, blah, blah, blah. So I said, now you do what I say. And he said, no. I said, you do exactly what I say. And he said, no. I'm telling you. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. You do exactly what I say. And he said, wow, where'd you get that? I said, I got it from my father in prison. He gave it to me. I had a little charm bracelet I used to carry it on when I was about that big.
Mm-hmm. So skip that for a second.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for him to do what you say? Why do you like having people do what
Because-
you want them to do? Why do you want to control them,
Because,
Charles?
wait a minute. No, I was asked. The dude asked me, he says, you my brother? I said, yeah, I'm your brother. He said, how much are you my brother? I said, completely. See, if I'm going to explain it to you, it's not going to be that easy. So you're going to have to bear with me. So, Bobby said, he was a young dude, and he said, I'm your brother. I said, okay.
Bobby?
I'm your brother. Beausoleil. I just got out of prison.
Wait.
Yeah.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, well, then we're gone with that
Well,
thought.
no, because you're getting on
Then
the...
we'll go to another one, and then you make me look crazy.
No. You can make yourself look crazy, Charles. I
okay.
can't make you look crazy, and please believe me.
All right. I'll believe you, and I'll
Let
put
me-
it in my left-hand pocket for later.
Let me take you back to you wanting this man, Hinman.
I cut
to
the
do-
dude's ear off
because
he was over Bobby. And Bobby was a youngster and really didn't know what the hell he was doing. And he was a kid, and he never had no man show him nothing, see? So I was telling the boy, I said, the guy, he says, you got my money. I said, go and get the money or leave him alone.
You're taking me to another story.
No,
which
I'm trying to tell you the same thing, and we'll be here for 1,000 years unless you let me finish it.
No. We won't be
Okay.
here for that long at all if you'll just speak to this
Okay.
one point.
I'm
What
at
is
the
it-
point.
Yeah,
Why
he just
cut
gets
the
the- he's
dude's
just
ear
smoking
off,
a
man?
cig.
What's the point?
I didn't ask you that. I said, why was it important to you to make Hinman do what you wanted him to do?
Because
and
he
if
had
one
a
follows
gun.
your okay, and if one follows your story
Yeah.
through the times on the ranch down
Yeah.
in Southern California, it was important for Charles Manson to be a leader, to have
Oh,
people follow him.
Come on, district attorney. See, you're full of brainwash. That's the district attorney. I'm nobody's leader, and I'm nobody's follower. I got a parole officer, I got a sleeping bag and a guitar, and I'm staying at an old blind man's ranch. And that's about the extent of it. All this occult, all that hocus-pocus stuff that you guys are playing, I don't know nothing about all
You
that.
know nothing about something called Helter Skelter. You know nothing about
Yeah, I know about Helter Skelter. It was a song that some people sang.
And that's all it
And some
was.
other kids picked it up in their minds. And they said, what do you think Helter Skelter is? I said, well, I get out of the penitentiary in the 50s, and everybody's going thump, 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 and they're walking like that. I get locked back up, I get out in the penitentiary in the 65, and it's going thump, 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 and I get locked up again, and I come out in the 69, it's going thump, 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 thinking, wow, man, wow.
Wow, what?
Wow,
what? Come on, keep
well,
going, keep going, Charles.
I was a beatnik in the 50s before the hippies came along. You know, I cut a rut down through Acapulco, and I smoked Acapulco before you knew what it was.
There.
And I lived in the Tombs, and I was in the Cook County Jail in Chicago when you were playing cricket in
good
high
old
school.
days.
See, like you live in another world. I live in street people's world.
You're a street person.
Manson had a plot, Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
Manson had a little scheme called creepy crawlers. He'd send people in to move furniture around. Is that all a figment of somebody's imagination so far, or is there any truth to that? Tell me, Charles. I don't know.
It's a fairy. It's worse than a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy tragedy opera that was played in the early morning.
Come on, Charles.
It was sickening.
Off the space shuttle.
You know, well, that's what the DA gave you for reality.
Okay.
He stood in the courtroom and said, this man did
Keeps telling
this,
him to
and
come
this man
down,
did
get off
that,
the
and you all
space
believed
shuttle.
him. He said, this man did that, and I said, Your Honor, may I speak? And he said, no, you can't speak.
Holy
That's
shit,
an honor.
Andy.
I got a voice, let me
Damn,
talk. He said, no, sit down,
16.
shut up. Then he
Let's
handcuffed
go.
me, take me to the back, whip my... What are you going to do? I come out and sit down, and I ain't going to get whipped again.
Didn't you stand up in that courtroom?
Sure, I stood up
by
two
the
or
way,
three times.
by the way, let me just go
I
back.
felt the repercussions in the back of it. Though.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you say the whole
That's
thing's a fairy
crazy.
tale. You
That's
say the whole
awesome.
thing is make-believe.
Yeah, that's his Helter Skelter. It wasn't mine.
The body of Sharon Tate is make-believe.
That's make believe.
Make-believe, yeah.
That's make believe to the people that went in there and did what they did.
Mhm. And who were those people? You
Those-
know who? You know,
yeah.
but you know who they were.
Sure, I know who they
They
were.
were with you at the Spahn Ranch. They were part of
Yeah.
this thing called, if not the Manson family or the Manson cult, the Manson Ranch. Call it what you
So
will.
then, what?
And Tex Watson testified in a court of law that you told him, go to the house that Terry Melcher used to live in and kill those people in a most gruesome way. A man that was once your associate said that of you, and now you sit here and say that's not true, that's all make-believe?
You got a stone wall there. Won't you take it down a little bit? Look here. I'll explain something to you. Tex took the witness stand, and this is record, and he said, I don't know whether I'm Charlie Manson or my mother. Tex didn't have his own mind one way or the other. He was balanced back and forwards because I had already took his mind in another game down the road that I was playing with some Hell's Angels that you don't know nothing about, and you probably never will know nothing about it because you would have to know those people to get in that thought, see? But there's different colors on different people's backs doing different things. It's a different world. I love the world I live in, too, just like Regan loves the world he lives in.
You love the world you live in.
Most assuredly, it's me.
You love all the pain that you've caused people, all the anguish you've
Oh,
caused
I don't
people.
know pain. I don't know pain. I have no depth of pain. I have no depth of suffering. I don't know ridicule. I don't know all the bad things. I haven't been punished by you all my life since I was 10 years old. I've been in every reform school you got across the country and used to lay down and have to get my ass whipped till I couldn't walk. Tell me about some pain.
And that's our fault. That's all
No,
those people
no
want.
fault. Make strong, good pain. Understand pain. Not bad. Pain's not bad. It's good. It teaches you things. It teaches you things. Like when you put your hand in fire, ow, you know not to do that again. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it does.
understand that.
But how come you didn't
That's
learn?
the reason I never stick my hand in fire.
Oh, but excuse me, you've been putting your hand in the fire since you were a little boy.
I have.
You just told me a couple of
did.
minutes ago that out of 47 years you've spent 34 of them behind bars. Now, if that isn't putting your hand in the fire, I don't know what is.
What year was that?
The year is not important. What's important is you just say that you learn by pain,
I think it
not
is
to
Tom
experience
Snyder.
again. Don't put your hand back in the fire.
Yeah.
Why you've been in and out of prisons for the last for 34 of your 47 years? You call that normal behavior, Charles? Is that something that you're proud of? I mean,
no, never. Well, I never thought I was normal. Never tried to be normal. Normal runs in a little rut down there. I don't know nothing about being normal. I've been in jail all my life, man. I've lived on a handball court. This guy raised me up. All the men in the joint raised me up, told me what to do, what was right and wrong, told me when to sit down,
Tina?
stand up. I just did
Yeah, I'm
everything
reading
I was
this
told.
book right now.
You know, and I got to the end of it, and I just turned around and said, wow.
Little Kenyan
And then I went outside, and all these little kids got a hold of me and said, we want to stop the Vietnam War, and we want to do this. What, it was a war? I don't know what's happening. I've been in jail all my life, man. I never went to vocational. You ever see me in vocational training, rehabilitation? Never played no rehabilitation. I sweep the floor in the kitchen, go out and play handball. I'm still 10 years old. Your world, I'm still a kid. I'm not going to grow up. I'm not going to go to college.
Damn. I wanted to end it with that. Just a little bit more into the mind of Charles Manson. You know, take that however you want. As we continue to dive deeper into different sections of this. And again, I may, like I was just mentioning here with Laurel Canyon, may dive in even a little bit deeper into some of this other weird shit that's out there, man. Like the 60s in this particular area are very interesting and crazy. Everybody coming through here tonight, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're about to head over right now to the book club. If you're not in the book club, you're missing out. We are, I don't even know if we're halfway through it yet, but we're getting there, though. The Stranger Beside Me, a Ted Bundy book by Ann Rule. She worked with Ted Bundy at a crisis clinic. Super interesting. We just got through with chapter 9. I've got notes. We're going to be going over them. Bring your thoughts. If you did read it, if you're already rocking and rolling in the book club, let's fucking go. I'll see you over there. Otherwise, you'll probably see me Thursday night about 9-ish. Yeah, around that time. And I still got to figure out a Feral Friday episode, or what I'm going to be doing Friday. So, but yeah, thank y'all so much for coming through. Appreciate it. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything out here. Yeah, see y'all over there. Come on, let's go. Boom. Come on. Members only. Actually, let me drop you in the link in here. Hold on. Let me drop the link. 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 Let me drop the link.
This first, nothing to see here, please.
Let me drop the link, oh, girl, yeah, I'll see you over there. Let me drop the link.
This first.